Okay. So hi, yeah, I'm Tom, and I'm the program director of the BASC degree. And so I will talk today about how we're trying to do things a little bit differently within the program with regards to academic advising and how to, as Rachel said, to motivate students to engage with us. As a common thing that I hear colleagues say is I'm here and I'm willing to advise, but the students don't come and seek my advice, if you like. And at the same time, if you speak to students, they'll say, I'm really willing to engage, but I don't really know why. Like I don't know what I can get from the service. And of course, all of these answers are really laid out for colleagues and students already without my needing to add anything into our program. But there are a lot of barriers that people face, and some of that is related to distance. So I'll talk about what we've tried to do in the program to try and facilitate that engagement. And I'll just start by introducing the program and kind of why, from my perspective as the director, I believe that advising is particularly important within the context of our program. So the BASC is a new degree program. It's existed for 2 years, so we're about to complete our second year, and it really takes a different approach to many of the traditional degrees that we have at HKU, in that our students are able to select courses from the 3 faculties, the Art, Science, and Social Sciences faculties, in the construction of their own first major. So technically their first major is called a major in interdisciplinary studies. And so every student on our program creates their own degree based on selecting courses from these 2 faculties, these 3 faculties. There are some rules about how they can select them, but basically they have more freedom than most students or all students at HKU in terms of what they do in their degree. And so it's completely personalized to them. We have 25 students per year within the program. And each one of them is studying something really, really different. And those, we're talking interests as diverse as students who are interested in trying to understand minority experiences, students trying to understand culinary culture and heritage, students wanting to understand ocean science, but also study it with combinations of journalism so they can communicate to the public, and it's really all over the place. And so, when looking at the program and in talking to students, there's a lot of anxiety about this freedom. First of all, students often come to us with one of 2 perspectives. Maybe I'll go back. We have some students who come to us with the intention to use the degree to sort of explore their interests and find out what they're passionate about. And we have some other students who come to us with a really clear idea of where they want to go, but not quite knowing how to get there. And so we want to support both of these students in the construction of a degree. And also, our degree is interdisciplinary, but the reality is that our students don't have a tremendous number of opportunities to combine what it is they're learning from the different courses within actual courses themselves. We don't have too many compulsory courses where they are actually integrating the knowledge from across disciplines. And so we want to use advising to give them that opportunity to engage in sort of intellectual discussion and interdisciplinarity. And another thing that we grapple with within the program is that all of that you can see in front of you, interdisciplinarity, it's being personalized, diversity, all of these kinds of things are quite new for our setting, our culture in Hong Kong. And so it's not just our students that are anxious, but it's their parents that are anxious. And one of the things that we have to work within the program is preparing students to be able to talk to their parents about the choices they're making and to be able to package it in a way that is convincing. to parents and brings them on side and lets them know that they're not wasting their time with us. So these are the kinds of things that we grapple with. And so to sort of mitigate these anxieties and also just help students along with their journey, we have we tried to do 4 meetings per year, but it's just too much to expect students to to try and corral them during that Christmas break, to see them before and after it. So going forward, it will be 3 meetings per year. This seems to be the easiest way to manage it, where we meet students within that add drop period or perhaps before if we can get hold of them, and we engage in those planning exercises, thinking about what they're interested in. I'll come back to all of these with more detail in a moment. We also engage them later on in each semester in the year in reflection. What have you been up to? What are you doing? And then in that meeting around Christmas time and in little bits in the other meetings, when they tell us what they've been doing, we engage them in oh, that sounds really interesting. Have you thought of this? Or, how are you merging what you've been learning in different courses into something more coherent and something you can build on. I haven't put this here, but in another talk I gave, I've added something in here that I think is worth mentioning is a meeting with staff once a semester. So advisors aren't alone within the program. I don't advise all our students. And so we'll have a once a semester meeting where a bunch of advisors get together and share the discussions they've been having with students, any problems that have come up, any successes, any guidance that anybody can give on their experience of similar students and, this kind of thing. So we're always sharing experience as well. So when we engage them in this planning exercise, so I'll just note that you'll see at the bottom here, there is a link and there's going to be a few of these. So if you click this link, I think I can click it now. So this is just a document that I created when I was thinking about, how the discussions I would have with students. And I give this to staff and students, all of the documents that I make. And if you use this link here at the bottom, you can access it. If you think this might be useful for you or you might want to build from it, you can access this and download it if you like. And the same is true for the other slides I'll show you. But essentially, if I distill this page down into, basically what we talk about, it's asking students, what are you interested in? What courses will enable you to study those interests? What kind of broader plans do you have for your degree? What kind of internship might you like to do? What kind of exchange might you like to go on to? What kind of credits do you want to spend this semester? What other things do you have on from an extracurricular perspective? And just laying all of those questions out for them in advance of the meeting. So they can either study the questions themselves and come to the meeting and chat about something else if they like, or talk about one issue, but at least laying out for them all of the different things that we think they should be considering going into a semester or a year. And I also give them this document. I know that students have access to a similar system, and I created this when I first came into the job, not knowing what students have access to. But in my experience, I was surprised to find that students quite like this. So if you click this link, you can visit the spreadsheet yourself. Basically, it's a template where students can enter their information and plan each semester in a sort of easy to manage manner, and it totals up their credits for each semester and tells them how many they might have left and all of this kind of stuff. And I only share that here because the students have told me it's useful. I didn't quite expect that, but you can download this and share it with your students if you like. We also, as I say, engage students in reflection. We're having these meetings at the moment. We just many of us have finished them. And that's like, how did the year go? What did you like? What didn't you like? What went right? What went wrong? What lessons have you learned? Also elements of planning within there, based on all of this, what are you going to do going forward? How are you going to build on this? How do you think this builds towards something bigger for your degree journey? And I think, I guess at this point, it's worth acknowledging something that I know perhaps somebody in the room has asked as a question to us. And that is, how do we feel as advisors when we feel like we don't know the answer to a student's question, or if they pose something to us, should we necessarily feel like we have to give them a concrete response to it? And I think one of the luxuries of being an advisor, as opposed to a dictator or a director, is that we don't really have to come up with the answers oftentimes, in my view, because it's the student's own journey that they're on. And these kinds of reflective questions can help them towards a place where they can answer a lot of their questions themselves, in my experience. And oftentimes the thing we have to deal with is our own anxiety about, as knowledgeable people, as intellectuals, wanting to always give people answers, when the reality is, in this kind of situation, you don't really have to give people answers, because the answer is theirs to find, rather than the answer you might give in your situation. And so to sort of summarize, I think, so just a few tips that I would give to colleagues about how to engage in these kinds of discussions with, I should add, sorry, there was another link here. If you click this, you can access a similar document for reflections that you can keep for yourself, or share with students if you want. You shouldn't be able to edit my document, so don't worry about that. The first big tip I would give is give students warning. So I give students, I haven't shared this here, but I give students a timetable for the whole 4 years of what the conversations will be at different points, what we'll engage them with, and I give them these documents all in first year. And so they know what's coming, they know when to expect it, they know what the game is. And so at least they can't pretend that they're surprised when we ask them to engage us like this. I would also say collaborate as much as possible. So these documents are collaborative with our students. They can comment in them and modify them, and we can change them over time. If you wanted to do something similar, I would urge you to share any planning documents, anything like this, with students, to say, this process is for you as much as it is for anybody else. So if you think this could be better, give me some suggestions and we'll modify it. And then they feel like a sense of ownership over it, and want to be a participant in it because they helped create it. And of course, I've made this seem, I guess, quite structured and quite inflexible. And you can set goals for a meeting, but you also have to be flexible. As I said, sometimes a student may engage in the planning or reflection or other kinds of things in their own time, and then come to you with something very specific that they want to spend all of the time talking to you about. And so you have to be prepared for that, but then work with them to acknowledge that, okay, it's still in your best interest to still plan ahead in these other areas, answer these other questions, even if we can't talk about it today. And so you do have to be flexible, even if you have a plan. And not to take it personally if, in spite of all of this hard work that you put in, students still don't want to engage you. So I guess I don't think I said this, but as is probably obvious from what I've shown you, I am a psychologist in my research work. And so it's easy for me to not take these things personally, and it's easy for me to sort of engage in reflection. But I would urge colleagues to acknowledge that there is only so much you can do with some students, and some of them just don't want to engage in these kinds of processes, and you're not necessarily the broken link in the chain in that respect. And so I just urge colleagues to do everything they can and just feel like it's in the student's hand to engage us if they want to. And I think that's probably the most important thing. That's all I had today. That's about 15 minutes, I guess. And so if you want to access the slides to see this again, you can use this link, and then that will give you the other links if you want to go back to those later as well. And so, yeah, thanks. I'm happy to, I realize there is some time left, so I am happy to answer specific questions if Rachel will allow.
Oh yes, surely. Thank you so much, Tom. Okay, yeah, I do share what you have observed. Some students are very keen to interact with the advisors, but some students might think that they could handle everything by themselves. But I guess we all allow students and we respect students' choices. But I guess if we show them that we are available and we are here and we are happy to help them, and we give them the expectation of what they can get from each meeting and give them a reason why they should continue, just like sharing our plans with them so they know exactly what we have for them. I think that would be something very useful to get them to come back to us, even if it is not regularly, but whenever they have problems.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, Tom. Yeah,
no, okay.
Tom, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was just going to reiterate a point you made there. I think sometimes one of the easiest and most powerful things that we can do with students is just to say to them, like, I'm genuinely here. Like, if you need someone to talk to about, something academic, or for those of us who are comfortable talking about personal things, if it's something personal, I'm here. And they don't even necessarily need to use the service, but for a lot of students, just hearing that somebody's there is pretty powerful, because many of them don't have someone.
Yes. Okay, Tom, we have a question in the chat box for you. Okay, so I noticed the question in the reflection stage are open-ended to give student room for reflection. However, is there any assessment to the responses to see how the scheme is improving advising via online platforms?
So I will say that I guess there's two ways that one might measure it. Our intention is not, or my intention is not, to see whether students can become more reflective over time. I'm not trying to teach them to be reflective, although I guess this is assumed implicitly that they probably will. So I don't really have an interest in trying to measure that. But broadly speaking, do I want to assess to what extent students or these practices are of benefit to students, whether it's online or in person? Yes, I do want to do that. And my plans are to, when it's more fleshed out and we've had a few more years under our belt, to think of like TGGs and things like that, where we can actually like assess this relative to a control condition, if you like. But it's not on my plans right now, but I plan to do that.